Hello everyone, this is the Marantz MCR610 and it's an all-in-one box that lets you play music from just about any source. And this is the unit we are going to give you an overview. The CD is power for the micro system, of course, and radio comes in FM and DAB flavors. You need to connect to the internet. To get the internet radio, it's got Spotify and Last FM as well. You can see the build quality. It's plastic, but it's alright. It also supports USB, which supports 24-bit 192 kHz FLAC files and gapless playback. And there's also AirPlay. Let's go to the back side of the unit. You can see the power connection. There's an internal amplifier as well. And although we won't be using the internal amplifier because I already have two mono blocks with me, there's an audio out as well. The construction is really nice. Over here we can see the audio out, the subwoofer and the digital ports as well. Although there is no Bluetooth, but I don't think we will need them. The best control method is the free Marantz remote app, and that's available for downloads on both iOS and on Android. This is a closer look. I'll be using the audio out ports. Now please note that this is not a preamplifier, so if you want to use the audio out port, you will still need a preamplifier. There's a closer look. And this is the preamplifier AudioLab 8000C, which we will be using, paired with two NAD monoblocks, the C272, pushing around 350 watts per channel into 4 ohms. And let's get back into the unit. That's the back side. Let's power the unit up. Once the unit is in standby, it will give you a red light. And here is the power button, we push it on. It says welcome. That's the rear USB. It already has some songs on it. This is the input button. We can see we have a lot of options over here. The CD, the DAB, and rear USB, the front USB, the internet radio. These are the 4 buttons which you can use to browse the menu, and these are the controls. We currently are on CD, and that's the forward and that's the eject button. The tray comes out. It's robust. I'm not seeing any problems. The reading time of the CD is fairly okay as well. You see 2 buttons of volume up and volume down, but please note that if we are using an audio out connection, these volume buttons, they will no longer work. So it doesn't matter which volume it is, it's just for the internal amp if you're using it. In this scenario, we are not using the internal amp. That's the DAB. You will need an internet connection, of course. Take some time searching the stations. Now one thing to note is that if you are using the BT connection, sometimes the DAB or other services will not work. You'll need to forward the port in your router. But I will get to that in another video shortly, the problems of this said unit regarding connectivity. Otherwise, don't get me wrong, this is a great unit. That is the FM radio. You can set it on auto and it's gonna grab all the channels. You'll need an external antenna, of course. We can see the digital in input, the optical, and since nothing is connected, it will say signal unlock. Moving on, we click input and we have the analog in. This in the form of an RCA. We have another analog in and your favorites, internet radio, music server. You can use this music server if you are using Windows based or an Apple MacBook. You can install any DLNA software which lets you make a server, and then there are settings inside it. Since on this network we do not have a music server, so we will move on. You've got your Last FM, As I mentioned earlier that some options would not work. It says not available in your country. Then we have Spotify. We'll need to put in the username and password. And one thing I would like to mention here that Spotify free does not work. So you'll need a premium account. If you don't have a premium account, then it's going to create problems. Also on some routers, as I mentioned before, you'll need to adjust the port forward settings. And these are all the options. We go into setup, and over here we have the quick setup, the general menu, the network menu. If we go to the quick setup menu, it will give us an option of selecting the language. We have wired and Wi-Fi, both options available. I will recommend going with the wired option, as it's generally more stable and recommended. Once again, we go into the setup. We have general, we have the alarm, the clock, the speaker configuration. You can biamp it, you can set the response and the volume offset. My bad, we went back a little bit further. Let's just go back to the setup and let's see what we have over here. We have the auto standby, we have the firmware update. Now in network information and network control, make sure that these settings are correct according to your network router. Otherwise, there will be problem accessing your network. Make sure your network control is on. And these are all your proxy settings. Now, one thing I would like to mention is it does say wireless network found, but if you're switching from another network sometime, it will not work, or it will take quite long to detect the network. It's going to give you errors as well sometime, like the cable is unplugged. We'll get back to it later on. Anyway, this is the menu. We can select the input again. We can go into the rear USB because that's where the USB is plugged in. These are FLAC files, all 192 kilohertz, and that's why the loading time is high. It's going to depend on the size of your USB and the size of your audio files and the resolution of them as well. So it's going to take a bit to load them all up. We can use these to browse the folders. These are around 500 files on a 128 GB USB drive. Make sure that the USB drive is formatted in FAT32, otherwise it will not work. Some computers do not have the FAT32 option, so you'll need to download a free software FAT32 converter. Any converter will do. Make sure you format your USB in FAT32. And that's it. That's the power button, and it goes into standby. Takes its time. I will recommend keeping the power on and not turning off the unit entirely, as if you turn it on, then we have some problems with the network settings. That's the red light which shows that the unit is in power mode. Now let's go to the Android version. One thing we need to note is that which software needs to download. Now there are two types of softwares, Marantz AVR Remote. Now you can see that I am opening this software. It is the AVR remote, which is not designed to be used with this head unit. So it's gonna sit on loading and that's it. So please do not use this one. Instead use the other one instead. It's the Marantz remote app. I'm going to install this one. I'm going to click on open, allow. It's loading. We go into devices, and before we go into deck, make sure that we are on the same network, i.e. I'm using this Wi-Fi network. So we should be on the same network. We go to devices. Now the problem over here is that we cannot see our Marantz head unit over here. I'll make a separate video on how to address this issue. Meanwhile, we'll just go into the part where we can see the device and move on from over there. Let's just finish the quick setup from over here. We need to reset the device. And after resetting the device, we can see that now we have our MCR over here. We can also use it on the Xbox. How did I reset the device? That's another video coming up. Once the device is reset, we just need to open up this app. It's going to take some time loading up, and after that we go to devices. Now we can see the Marantz is over here as well. We just click on Marantz, And over here we can see the entire menu of the input devices. We just select the rear USB. We have a list of devices over here. We can select any device which we want. In our case, we'll be using the rear USB. We just click next, and this is the main interface. We have the name of the songs on top. We have the back button. If we click on the back button, it's going to take us to the folder which we were playing on the Marantz. And these are all the files. It may take some time, as I mentioned earlier on, loading them because it's a slow software by Marantz. I don't know why they've made such a great unit, but they're such slow on the software part. The phone I'm using is an S23 Ultra, so it's not about the phone. It's on a pretty fast network. We have the controls over here to control our music, and beneath them are the volume controls. Anyway, so we go back again, and these are the list of songs which I have. That's the home button. If you click on the home button, it's going to take you directly into the main interface to select your input devices. And on the top right, we have the player view. If we click on the player view, it's going to take us to the player. These are the volume controls. They will not work because we're using the audio out. So the audio out on the preamplifier is going to work, and not this. It doesn't matter which volume we choose. Now we click on the player view, and we click on the back arrow, which is, I know, cumbersome, but then again, that's the list of the songs which you have. The software is just like this. It's not very user friendly to use. It takes some time to load all the folders. Again, it depends on the file and resolution and the capacity of your USB drive. And over here we have multiple folders. We can use the search button at the bottom. There's a text search. We can search for any song which we want. And that's it. That is the software. Now make sure that these settings are all enabled in your Android phone. Otherwise the software is going to create some problems. Make sure that all the notifications and the permissions are granted, and do not click on pause app activity. Otherwise, after some time, it's going to reset the permissions and you will have problems using the app again. And these are the general things. You can see everything is in proper format. Once this is done, you will have no problems in using the software.